Amazing. So, Lena, who's Lena Moxon?
Moxon. Yeah, you're right.
Moxon.
That's me.
I'm a pronunciation freak. I'm like, please get this right. Let's talk about your intuitive journey. When did it start? Was there a catalytic moment? Was there battles that you've gone through to really tap into your intuition? Whatever feels good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my intuitive journey really has been one that can be expressed through a rebuilding and a reclaiming and a reintegrating in terms of the relationship I have with my body as the intuitive instrument, as the open vessel that receives the guidance and the nudges and the intuition. And a pivotal moment for me was in realizing in the year probably 2016, I think it was, I was coming to the end of an 11-year relationship with my first husband. And that relationship was dissolving and it felt completely devastating. I had been with this man since I was 18 years old. So much of my identity, so much of the way that I saw the world had been framed through who I had become within that relationship. And I pretty much didn't know myself without the context of that relationship. So as that relationship dissolved, there was a part of me that felt completely devastated and completely terrified. And, I was judging the situation as wrong, completely wrong. And I was saying, how could this have happened? I can't believe this is happening to me. What am I going to do now? But even as I said that, there was another part of me that knew, you always knew this wasn't right for you. You always knew this. And a moment that I recalled that had occurred, but I hadn't thought of in probably 6 years, was the day before that I married my first husband. Rather than feeling excited, uplifted, all the ways that we think we should be feeling when we're about to make, a big commitment in our lives, I was sat on my shower floor, absolutely sobbing, just crying. My body was just like experiencing complete breakdown and grief. And logically, I couldn't understand what was happening. And I kind of sat there in the shower just crying and thinking like, I don't think I should be feeling this way. But, the logical part of my mind, the part that just wants to do the things right and follow through on the commitments that I've made and, ultimately have the life of security and safety that I crave, that I believe that this relationship was giving me, made me kind of completely discount the experience. But the body had so much to say that I couldn't actually control what was happening. And I was just sat on the shower floor and just sobbing and crying, like pretty much hysterically. And I just kind of had to surrender to that, and it happened. And then the next day I got up and got married, and life goes on. And I never spoke to anybody about it because I guess there was a confusion and a shame, and I don't know, I guess I didn't want to think too much into what that might mean. And there's been many other experiences in my life where my body had something to say about a choice that I was making or a place that I was going or something that was just occurring in front of me, that I kind of just bat away and just stayed focused and, used all of the resourcefulness I have of free will, I guess, to be aware of what was occurring within the body, but also to ignore it. And so I guess for me, it was having that moment at the end of the relationship where I was saying, I can't believe this is happening. And just remembering, well, actually, you've always known. Your body has always been really clear. And so I guess from that point on, I just decided to start listening, because I feel like I could have avoided a whole lot of chaos and drama and destruction within me and within my world and, the people around me too, had I paid attention to what my body was trying to say in that moment. It would have been hard to be with the body in that moment and to listen and to try and decipher, what was being shown to me through me as me. But it was a hell of a lot harder to try and untangle myself from a very sticky web that had been created in the 6 years from that moment. So that's, a story that I can offer up and share in how I kind of realized that there was specific guidance and information and a knowing coming through me that was meant to be received and that was meant to be used in terms of, supporting my decision making in this life.
Yeah, I guess it can be seen like in hindsight now, or where you are now, like that sucks. And I wish I had listened, but at the same time, you've built quite a very big contrasting point that will help you discern so easily around your body wisdom and your logical mind. And I really love that you've shared this. And I was sitting here like, oh my goodness, I get it. Like, I totally get why I had to hear this, because I've, like, in my intuitive journey, it's always, I've just known things. It's just been a knowing, but I've really started to understand the body talk now. And I've had not so much of a big commitment as you did with your one, but now I understand my tantrums a bit easier. Like, you know, a couple times a year or 3 times a year or something, I just have this massive full body tantrum and be like, what is going on? And then logical mind tries to analyze it, but really it was a point of me supposed to be saying no to what I thought I was needing to do. So thank you for this confirmation for me, and I'm sure for many other people. Like, yeah, our bodies, your body will tell you.
And a big part of this for me has been activating a sense of humility, where I kind of lay down my desire to be in control of everything. And every time I've been able to quite literally, like, head on the ground, put my body down and offer up the control that I'm trying to maintain, I offer up that control in return for more faith and to become a clearer channel and to receive more. And so there are often times where there's the me that observes my thoughts and my feelings and the world around me, that literally has the clarity that something is going on through me, to me, as me in my body. And I try as best I can to just sit back and just be an observer and tune into the sensations of my body and just ask myself to stay out of the way as source communicates to my body in that way, and to just then tune into, okay, what's the sensation here, and try as best I can to decipher what's being communicated in that way, rather than think like I have to take a certain posture or position or do a certain thing to receive the downloads. It's more just like, how much can I learn to get out of the way and just let the body be the vessel, be the channel that will receive the guidance.
That's actually huge. That's a huge revelation, even for me. I've been someone that's been doing this for a long time, because I'd be that, got to have a ritual, got to have the cacao, got to have the candle, got to have the, you know, and then I'll be tapped in, you know, tuned in, turned on. You know, Abraham Hicks there. But I just really love what you've just said. Like, you tapping into your own, or stepping out of the way, I should say, stepping out of the way of your body, tuning in. Like, you can do that anywhere at any time, and being that observer, that's big, that's huge. Like, in terms of not hard huge, but like, that's effortless tapping in. It gets to be something you can do anywhere.
And I think effortless is an interesting one, right? Because it's effortless as in you don't have to be specifically resourced. We are the resource. But it's actually really difficult to do, because ritual's a really beautiful thing, because it really helps us kind of like be grounded and really conscious and aware of being in receiving mode. So I don't discard that either. And there are certain things that I like ritualize within my life just because of that. It really helps to like pull me back into alignment. But my personal experience and the way that, you know, things have been communicated to me, the biggest downloads and the most powerful and profound guidance that feels the most clear has always come in the moments where it's just me without any of the paraphernalia or the stuff or the expectation for how this should happen. And I'm caught in a moment where I'm just open to receiving, and there's nothing in the way.
I love that. I really, really do love that. It's the shoulds that take us all down, doesn't it? Like, it should look like this. It should sound like this. It should be like that. Yeah. I'm really glad you've brought this to the space where the listeners can really understand that there doesn't have to be a set way. Not that ritual is bad, like you just said. Like, ritual is a beautiful thing to help with the grounding, but you can always be tapped in a different way as well. The opening and the receiving mode is purely up to you and how you choose to do it.
And I think I don't think there's any kind of process that we need to go through to start receiving. I think we are always constantly receiving. There's no part of me that thinks that we have to prove our worthiness or our readiness or any of that. I think we're in constant communication. It's just up to us to decide like how ready we are to really tune into that and to see what's there and to feel what's there. There's nothing that we're ever doing wrong necessarily. It's just whether we're paying close enough attention. and just trusting ourselves in deciphering and knowing that, you know, how we relate to the intuition that is arising within us is always perfect too. There is no one clear message to receive. There's always, I think it's just information, and then we get to live out this crazy wild human life just playing with the information that we are given and deciding what we want to do with that information. You know, for sometimes, like, there's been like clear guidance given to me, like, oh, you shouldn't do this. This is going to be meeting my current husband actually is a really good example of this. The first moment that I saw my husband, I remember it so clearly. I saw him and just had this overwhelming like sensation of danger, like, stay away from this person. Like, if you engage in this now, nothing will ever be the same within you or within your life. And I can see very clearly now that was a very pivotal moment for me. I could have chosen to stay on the path that I was on, which would have been without the challenges and craziness and chaos that life with this man that I've chosen to spend my life with just comes with, just because of who he is and all that he comes with and the life that he leads. It's crazy. It's wild. His stories are insane. And so I had that moment where I was given guidance, like, this is going to be a wild ride. And I went, yeah, you know what? I'm up for it. Fuck it. Shut up. I choose this. So it's not always that we have to follow the guidance given. Sometimes it's we're given the opportunity to decide for ourselves, like, maybe I want to rebel a little bit against the clear guidance that's trying to keep me safe and protected and living a life of ease. Maybe I do choose in this lifetime to go on the wild ride because, I don't know, I'm up for it. It's fun. Like, I just let me see what's going to happen. So I think it's important to know too, like, we're not passive in receiving the guidance. And just because we receive guidance doesn't mean we have to take action on it and follow the instructions given. Like, I don't think it works like that. I think we're just kind of given information and we get to decide in our human form what we're going to do with that. And then we only have ourselves to blame, really.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to ask you, through being inspired through what you went through with your second husband in terms of meeting him, how did you decide or discern or just know that, like, hold on, let me try and phrase this question properly. How did you know that it was intuitive guidance against, versus ego safety? You know, that the difference between, how does that work for you?
I don't think I knew straight away, but I knew Steve, my husband. We knew each other for a full decade before we decided to be in relationship with each other. And logically, I tried to talk myself out of it for 10 years. I tried to deny it, resist it. We both got married to other people in the meantime, like, created entire lives separate to each other. And I just could not get the thought of him, the desire for him, the longing for him out of my body. It just kept being brought back and back and back to me in ways that were so undeniable. And I'm talking, I would just like try and purge the memory of him. Like, I would just cry and scream and just like, yeah, really like pray, like, get this out of my body. And I couldn't. It was planted, it was rooted, it was anchored within me. It was beyond me. Because quite honestly, if I could have chosen for myself, I wouldn't have chosen the struggle and the pain and the suffering that was the journey of, you know, becoming his wife. It's not been this beautiful love story that, you know, Disney movies might have us believe that, you know, we each get in this lifetime. It's been wild what we've had to go through separately and then as a couple to have this life that we share together now. So if somebody gave me like a summary, like, here's the chapters of the story of you and Steve, do you want this to be your story? I don't think any sane person would choose what I have chosen for myself in this lifetime. And yet there it was. I couldn't resist it. I couldn't deny it. There was always something telling me, like, this is for you. This is for you. So for me, that's how I've known, because it has felt bigger than me. It hasn't felt really like a conscious choice I've made for myself.
Yeah, I love that.
I have a 4-year-old son now, Tyson, with Steve, who my child, my son, is like my greatest teacher. He's healing me on a daily basis. He's just a light in my life where I could cry every time I talk about him. Where there had been darkness up until him, his birth and the relationship that I'm creating with him in this life is so deeply healing. And sometimes I think like my relationship with Steve is its own thing and it's its own experience in this life, but potentially I've been drawn to this man in this life so that we could create this child. So sometimes, you know, we don't know why we're being pulled towards certain things and why we can't let things go. And sometimes we have to suffer greatly. But if we can have faith that it's all for the greater good and for the highest good, I think eventually we see and we connect the dots. And even on days that are really hard and I'm suffering the consequences of this life that I've chosen, I just look at my son and I think, but without all of that, there is no you. So I would choose this in a million lifetimes, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I so get that. Motherhood is like the biggest gift and the biggest ride. But I personally am not entirely sure what it is that you do. So would you be able to give us some insight of who you are and what you do, and yeah, how using your intuition has really guided you into becoming who you are today?
My love, that's the best question because I'm not entirely sure who I am and what I do either. I have a really hard time communicating it. Really. I have no problem with you stating it because it's like it's something that I question and I play with every day. And so my journey has been I was an educator for 10 years. So I was a primary school teacher and simultaneously I owned personal training studios and gyms. And so my background is that of education. It is that of coaching. And through the coaching in gyms, what I really found was that I wasn't so interested in, you know, the standard goals that would be set in a gym, whether it was like weight loss or fitness goals or whatever. The conversations that I was having with my clients one-on-one always became more existential. Like, tell me what this means for you. Tell me what this allows for you. Tell me what you can receive through witnessing yourself in these new ways. And I built myself, my business, my brand around the way that I was able to support people in really just relating to themselves with a beginner's mind. And so I think my background in education and learning to meet students where they were as they were and scaffolding learning to meet them actually really supported me in doing the same with adults and in showing them how to take a beginner's mind and apply it to themselves and their lives and to find just how much potential and possibility we uncover for ourselves when we actually allow ourselves to stop communicating with ourselves from a place of like expectation and knowing and identity, like this is who I am, this is what's happened to me, this is what's available to me, this is what I can do, and actually learn how do I meet myself in the moment that I'm in? How do I get curious about the way life is kind of, you know, appearing to me, and how well can I meet the moment? How well can I work with what's arising? How well can I moment by moment by moment choose who I am to be, what I am to do, and then what that's going to be able to provide for me. And so over the course of like, this is 16 years that I've kind of been immersed in this kind of work. It's seen me personally go on a wild ride. I was like deep in hustle culture. I was going to all the workshops, doing all of the things, traveling the world to be like trained by some of the biggest names in the coaching industry. And it chewed me up and it spat me out, to be honest, because I really lent into hustle culture and I really did believe that I just had to, you know, be bigger and be better and be greater in all aspects of myself and my life to be of service. And what I found was that I had been just led down a path that really took me nowhere, and that was more concerned with the desires of a capitalistic culture and really tied and anchored into just materialism and the patriarchy and this hierarchy of some have and some don't. And it made me like physically sick, mentally unwell. Like it was just, I was immersed in this world that really made me feel like I was an alien. Yeah. But at the same time, I was like quite successful because I was able to kind of like, I'm always very able to learn something quickly, to apply quickly, to generate, you know, progress and success within myself, no matter what it is. But I very quickly realized that I was living a lie. And that simultaneously, that first relationship, my first marriage, kind of, it all just dissolved once I kind of realized I had been living a lie and I was willing now to face the truth, which kind of was everything that I thought that I was, everything that I thought was important, everything that I thought I needed in my life had turned out kind of to be a lie for me. I had lived my life as a fool up until that point, believing, following somebody else's roadmap. And so I turned myself to kind of wanting to be of service in the same way and supporting people and being fully expressed within their lives. But I knew very much that it wasn't just for capitalistic gain. It had to be for full expression and exploring my own kind of sense of, well, what's the meaning of my life and what sort of impact do I want to make on the world and who do I want to be, has really encouraged me to support other people in doing the same. So I work one-on-one with people in kind of having them be in devotion to the understanding of their purpose. So I've retrained as a spiritual life coach with the Dharma Coaching Institute. And so I help people really deepen their understanding of what it means to care for the soul and the kind of impact that we can have, not just on our own lives, but, you know, just globally, the way that our unique energetic expression matters. And how we can amplify our own inner advocate. And then most recently, I have trained as a Somatic Activated Healer. And so what I found was a lot of the time people were talking about who they were to be, what they wanted to have, what they wanted to do, but there was no way to really anchor that belief or anchor that desire or intention into the body in a way that had them moving with that clarity and conviction through their lives and through the world. So the somatic healing certification has just really supported me in really refining my capacity to bring those somatic modalities to people, so that it's not just, we're not just talking about it, we're embodying it, we're moving with it, we're really integrating the desire and the intention and the belief that we have for who we are and what we do into us. So that's probably confusing, and that's why I really struggle to explain what it is I do. But yeah, that's what's coming through today in explaining what I do. So it's different for every person that I work with, to be honest.
It's like you're like a soul worker.
I think so. And I genuinely, like, today I nod and I smile and I'm like, yeah, it's about soul care. It's about supporting people in understanding that we've never been taught or shown really how to relate to that inner knowing within ourselves, the inner being that actually holds all the wisdom and can transmute the intuition and actually, you know, is given and gifted to us in this life, but also needs to be communicated with, and we need to develop this relationship with it with a sense of urgency, because we don't get this time back. I think we always feel like I'll do all the things and I'll go to all the places and I'll achieve all the things, and then I'll know myself, and then I'll have the time and space to really, you know, be with myself, maybe in retirement, you know. And I just think we don't know that to be true. We don't actually know how much time any of us have left to fully explore the potential that lies within us. Not just to do and achieve and create, but to really know ourselves, to really feel into the experience of who we are in this life and what it is that we have to communicate and share, not just in words, but just like through our being.
How has somatic activation helped you in your life?
Yeah, beautiful question. Thank you for that question. It supported me in developing a safer relationship with all emotions. And so for me, for many years, there were certain emotions that I had a really hard time experiencing or feeling safe in or being with. And it meant that if something was triggered within me, let's say like jealousy or anger, I say that with a smile, like jealousy, it never feels like that. It's like jealousy or anger or grief, or, you know, certain emotions that just felt really heavy, felt really unsafe to be with, because I didn't know how to process them in a way that was kind of healthy, or that didn't have me fully merging with those emotions and identifying with them. It meant that I would deny myself the experience of being with those emotions, and I would either project it in a really harmful way onto the people around me, or I would take to bed in what felt and looked and sounded like deep depression, because I just wanted to numb out and not feel any of those emotions. So it was either I was really causing harm to people around me just by the way that I was projecting, the way that I was speaking, the things that I was saying in response to the knowing that those sensations, those emotions were arising within me. It was like if somebody made me feel a certain way, I would lift my eyes and be like, you make me feel like this? No, 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 no. And I'd shoot it straight back to them. Or it literally was, I would just disconnect, detach, isolate from the world. And that was really harmful for me and for others as well. That had consequences. Both ways of approaching those emotions had consequences. And so somatic activated healing has given me the tools to learn how can I accept and know that all emotions, all sensations that are experienced through the body are safe and welcomed and allowed, and how can I be with them? How can I actually allow myself to see it, face it, recognize it, and then have tools that make me realize, oh, just because I feel this doesn't mean I identify with it. Actually, if I can process it, skillfully and gracefully, it passes right through me quite quickly. And I didn't know that. I would identify with certain emotions for weeks, months, sometimes years. And so it's been completely liberating to move in the world with a sense of genuine authenticity, because I feel free to respond to whatever is occurring within me and around me with complete truth and transparency, knowing that whatever arises within me will be processed, will be safe to feel. And I don't have to claim complete ownership over it beyond the moment that I am with it. So it's just allowed me to move more freely, to not be so rigid, to not try and control every experience I'm having, because there's a part of me that, is living in fear of certain emotions.
I love that. It sounds like to me, like from how I know surrender, like you're describing what surrender feels like. I love that.
Yes. Surrender. And also there's the surrendering, and then there's the radical acceptance that I think is the next layer on top of that. So we can surrender, but we can still have kind of reactive responses to what arises for us after surrender.
My hand goes up to the person that did that. Absolutely.
That's most of us. And surrendering is so courageous because we make ourselves so vulnerable in surrendering. We have to be open and available to what arises. And then the next question, the next kind of, I don't like saying the word level because it's not like it's, we're not trying to pass anything necessarily. The next layer to the deepening of our understanding or our ability to really be with what's arising is, can I bring radical acceptance to whatever is here? Can I let life show me what's unfolding and just bring radical acceptance and say, okay, and this too, and this too, and this too, this is what I'm working with.
Yeah, I love that. It really brings about, what are you trying to say, Amanda? You remind me of inquiry, like being in inquiry all of the time. That's how I would see me personally. That's how I see what you're saying. It's like, oh yes, the next thing. And then I inquire about the next thing and I remain curious for the next thing. It's like, it's a cool process that we get to go through, and we in surrender, in acceptance, and then going, all right. So let's just curiously let this unfold and remain in that unknown void space, away from the control, observing what gets to happen. And the next thing comes up and you're like, I like living life like that is like, it's such a fun, that takes a whole new layer to the roller coaster ride sometimes.
Yeah, if you choose to live like that, you're choosing to kind of like raise your hands, and you're choosing to just kind of let yourself be with the fall. And I think what I communicate goes against the grain of what we're kind of conditioned to hear and see in this space. A lot of the languaging is around really getting to know yourself. And I suppose what I present and what I suggest is that we stop trying to think that there's, a self that we're supposed to know with complete clarity and conviction and certainty. I think for me, at this point in my life anyway, it's how much can I release the idea I have about who I am, and how much can I just sit back with a beginner's mind and meet myself moment to moment with curiosity. And when you live in that place, the expectations and the standards and the being hard on ourselves and all of that, it kind of falls away, because there is none of that anymore. We don't expect anything from ourselves. And that's not to say we don't have, values and integrity and an understanding of what matters and what's meaningful to us, but it's just we allow ourselves to just meet the moment as new again and again and again and again. And in doing that, we soften our relationship with ourselves. There's been so many times in my life where something has happened and I get mad at myself for the way I'm responding or reacting, because I think you should be better than this. Why are you letting it feel like this? Yeah. You're smarter than this. You're more intelligent than this. You're more spiritual than this. Come on,
Oh, no.
And then there's so much judgment and shame and guilt. Yeah. That's right. How can you be feeling so jealous right now? How can you be feeling these really ugly, gritty emotions when you're supposed to be this kind, loving, interconnected being, right? And then there's this guilt and shame and all of that we activate within ourselves because we don't just let ourselves respond in the moment and observe that and work with that and allow for that and love on ourselves for that. So for me, it's like, let's not try and narrow down who we are to a point of like, okay, I've set a new standard and expectation for the way that I move in the world now. It's how much can I just let myself exist? How much can I let myself exist? And how much can I be in the experience of that existence with an open mind and an open heart?
I really love, really love that flip switch, flip the script around the self, like through what you've just explained there to me. That makes so much sense, because we're finding so much in our separation by trying to be who we think we need to be, or kind of who am I, who is the self, when really we get to remember that we're all just part of one big whole, and the separation is the illusion. And yet when we keep trying to find ourselves, we're just like resubscribing to that narrative of the illusion. So I'm so glad that you've brought that here, because you're right. I believe you're right. I'm in full agreement with you when it's, why don't we just be in curiosity and see ourselves moment to moment and not worry about who am I? And yeah, there's the conditioning that we take upon, especially in the business, the coaching, the spiritual world, when it comes to like, you got to know who you are to know your message, to be able to serve the people. It's like, well, but do we really? Because like, there's nothing wrong with feeling a bit lost. There's nothing wrong with feeling a bit confused. There's nothing wrong with feeling more at home in the unknown. And essentially, when you decide to be in that place and you just, like you said, live moment to moment, you're more open to receiving what life wants to live through you anyway, because you're not limited by, I am this and I am that and I can't receive this because I am that. So thank you so much for bringing that here. That's like given me a whole other awakening as I'm listening to you. I'm like, wow, yes, exactly. Exactly.
I love that so much. Do you know something that has helped me? Like I'm such a word nerd, right? Like I was the kid that was just like constantly reading when she was little, right? So I feel like words are meaningful, and so like language matters to me. And something that really has supported me is not using the word like the unknown anymore, and I just call it the mystery. So how much can I be, rather than saying how much can I be with the unknown, there's just a texture of kind of like danger if I'm saying unknown. But the word mystery kind of opens me up to some sort of mysticism that just feels more appealing, that just like, I don't know, my body responds to the word mystery in a different way than it would when I talk about like the unknown. So sometimes it's just like these little things that we just like change the way that we're describing it, and it changes our whole experience of it.
Thank you for that reframe. That mystery feels really exciting in the body. And it's like, yeah, versus unknown, it has like that a visceral experience going on inside of me. And have you seen Murder on the Orient Express? No, not that one. The one on the boat. Well, there's this movie on the boat, and it's got Gal Gadot in it, or Gal Gadot or something. And when you said mystery, all I could remember was her like in this nice like 1920s dress, because it's like a murder thing. You gotta solve the murder, and I'm just like, oh, it's a mystery. Like, I'm like, yes, I like this. I'm gonna use that from now on. The unknown is now out. Yeah. We're going with mystery. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think, mystery usually remains like, we hand it over. We hand the mystery over. Like, we don't assume that we're supposed to figure it out. Like, for me, when I'm talking about, like, I'm in the mystery of it all, there is that connection to mysticism, and I kind of offer that up. I'm not spending my life trying to think I'm the one that's going to solve the mystery. Like, it's not that. Whereas when I'm speaking of the unknown, there's a part of me that always thinks that as I move towards the unknown, there will be a knowing that arises to change that unknown into a known for me. So I don't know. Maybe it's like it's getting me out of trying to figure everything out, because I'm like, oh, I'm just, in the mystery. I'm living in the mystery. It kind of allows me not to have to make sense of things that just, would warp my mind if I, sat and thought on it for too long.
Definitely a great, I'm still going with the great reframe. I'm still going to, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know I needed that. You have given so much already to the listeners in terms of the way, like tips to how to, whether you realize it or not, I'm not sure, but I feel like you've given us quite a few things to think about in terms of how we use our intuition and how we get to activate it or be with it. But I was wanting to ask you if you have any advice or a couple of tips that you could share with us that you feel would really enhance us in our intuitive journey.
Ooh, great question. There's so much. There is so much that I could share. One of the things that I would say is to use your lived experience and to use the story of you and your life as an opportunity to really reflect and to go back and like retell to yourself, not necessarily to anybody else, moments and periods of time and things that occurred where there was guidance given, to really feel into those moments where there was just like a feeling in your stomach, or maybe you were suffering from migraines, maybe you had like a sore neck, maybe there was periods of time that your body was speaking to you, there was something going on, and when you go back and you reflect, you kind of put those two things together and you realize like, oh, I didn't see the way that my body was communicating to me that I should leave this job, or I should move to this town, or I should whatever it is, right? But actually, my body actually was really trying to tell me something. I'll share one more example of this that I have. When I was a teenager, something pretty like traumatic happened within my family. And I felt I was probably 14 years old. There wasn't really space or place or just resource within me to be able to communicate how that was impacting me and how much I was suffering and struggling with that. And I can also remember that from the ages of like 14 to 18, I suffered with a really sore neck, really bad back that just persisted. And so my mum would continue to ask me, how's your neck? How's your back? And I always was saying I was in so much pain, and I was taken to chiropractors and doctors and just different specialists. And there was never anything that anybody could really do that would kind of support that pain. I was always in pain. And reflecting back now, I just think, of course, the body was in so much pain because I was in such a state of suffering. I couldn't communicate what I needed to be known, the way that I wanted to be seen and held by my mum. And so my body was communicating that in a way that I could kind of receive what I was longing for. If my back and my neck got better, what was I going to say to her? I'm fine. I'm all good. When there was, a knowing within me, a deep desire to be seen in the fact that I wasn't okay. And so I look back now and I just think, how could it be that I struggled with like severe neck and back pain for years, and now that's not even a thing? There's no sign of it. There's no like none of that. And I just think, oh, wow, my body was really, really, really communicating what was felt within me, what was being held within me, how much trauma was actually stuck within my body. So I just advise you really to go back and reflect on your body, your life, the stories you tell, and just see the wisdom that has always been there. See the fact that your body has always been communicating to you, and just be with that. be with that and start to really respect and honor the way that your body has been communicating really clearly and really wisely and really intelligently, and how maybe we have been relating to those subtle messages with discontent or frustration. Like, so much of the way the body is communicating with us is through pain, because we simply haven't listened to the subtle messages that it offered up before that. Right. And so the body whispers and whispers, and then it yells, and then it screams, and then it throws a tantrum. And we end up just being frustrated and irritated, and sometimes even relating to the body like it's a problem that needs to be fixed. We get angry for our pain. We get really annoyed that we've slowed down, all of the things. But if we can go back and we can see the body has been so wise, so intelligent, so generous in its communication with us, and we own that and we appreciate that, I think we put ourselves in a much greater position to be open to the intuition and guidance that will come through moving forward.
Absolutely. Well, that's oh, man. I'm like, that's taken me to so many places within me where I have chosen to exaggerate my struggle for whatever reason, and created the pain, or created the, like, in hindsight I see it now, but yeah. Oh, that's an uncomfortable one to sit with right now. Like, okay, just gonna love myself and sit in compassion. I'm sure there are listeners out there that are like, okay, yep, that was a hard one to hear. Like, yeah, I get that. So yeah, just thanking you for that one. I want to take that one to the meditation mat later and just love myself for a bit. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us in terms of how we can really tap into our intuition on the other side of, like, how can we nurture, there we go, how can we nurture ourselves through that realization process of, oh, okay, this shit that I'm going through, I created that.
Yeah. It's about, and how we do this. I mean, I would love to give it like an A plus B equals C. Like, do this, do that, and then you'll free yourself from the judgment that you are constantly placing on yourself all the time. I think so much of it is in just being really kind and really gentle with yourself, and seeing the ways that even the most harmful things that we do and that we say and that we choose, ultimately comes down to our desire to just feel like we are seen, we are held, we are known, we are loved in some way. So in recognizing the urges, the compulsions, the desires, the things that we want for ourselves, sometimes we can be really uncomfortable in recognizing the ways that we have demonstrated that, or the ways that we've asked for that. And I think if you can just be really kind to yourself and be really loving to yourself, exactly as you said, I'm going to go sit on my meditation cushion in compassion with myself. I'm going to become aware of it. I'm willing to acknowledge it, but I'm going to ask myself to just like allow it without judging it, without shaming it, without trying to make it any other way. The other thing that I actually is probably more useful is to ask of ourselves to actively try and become a person who suspends judgment when it comes to the behavior of other people. And this really supports us in being more kind and loving to ourselves. So a phrase that I've been given by my spiritual teacher that has helped me immensely is just like me. So whenever I go to get angry or annoyed or pissed off or horrified by somebody else's behavior, I ask of myself to just sit and pause and genuinely ask myself what I'm observing in them, what I'm seeing in them, what I'm frustrated by in them. Is there a part of me that knows that maybe I could engage in similar behavior, or that has engaged in similar behavior in the past? Can I say just like me and just kind of take a breath and get off my high horse and not be so judgmental and critical and punishing? I don't have to like it, but can I just be a little softer? Can I be a little kinder? Can I smile at the human experience and see all the ways that we get things muddled up and confused, and, we create complexities that we probably don't ultimately desire, but exist because we are just, human and trying to work it all out? Can I offer up to somebody else just like me? and reserve the desire I have to punish or judge or shame another. And if I can do that, when I witness things in myself that are sticky, are crunchy, are hard to look at, I can stop thinking this is just me, and I can, relate to myself as one of the whole, as the interconnected being, as just literally witnessing something in me that is within all beings. And if I can offer my own kind of gentle awareness, the warmth of my awareness to it, and I can see that I'm seeing my own shit, and I'm bringing the warmth of my awareness so that it can kind of be like a compost that's being broken down under the heat, that's a really beautiful thing. That in recognizing the parts of me that, need some sort of shifting, and if I can do that within myself, then I'm actually contributing, to everybody, to the world, to all sentient beings, because I'm learning to be more loving and more kind and more gentle with myself, and that will make me more loving and kind and more gentle with others. And if we all did that, then we just live in a completely different world, So in order to sharpen our capacity to be with intuition, what it means is that we need to trust ourselves, to be with ourselves, to be tuned into what we are receiving. But we will only truly be able to do that when we have this kind, loving, caring, respectful relationship with self. So we see the way that we're relating to others, and the judgment and the shame and the ways that we criticize others, as a beautiful mirror for the ways that we're probably speaking to ourselves as well. You speak to yourself with love and kindness and compassion and empathy only. That's all you have to offer up into the world as well. But if you hear yourself and you see yourself being critical and judgmental and spiteful and all of the things, best believe, whether you're aware of it or not, that's the way you relate to yourself as well. So it's just using whatever life is presenting and just seeing it and being curious and asking of yourself, how could I be new in this moment? How could I respond differently? How could I allow myself to just see what's happening in another and say, yes, just like me. And now how do I respond? And now what?
Oh, thank you so much for that. I feel like that judgment piece is a whole, there could be a whole other episode on its own as well. That is such a big thing that we get to learn as we move forward in our awareness journeys. I can't even tell you the amount of judgment I have placed on other people and myself through just being taught and conditioned to be that way. And I love that as we walk this consciousness journey, as we open ourselves up, as we awaken more, we get to really see the truth behind what judgment really is, and how it doesn't actually have to be there at all. We don't have to have the experiences that we keep hating on, like, why does this keep happening? Why does that person keep talking like blah, 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 and we get into in my case, it was the gossip girl bitch train. I was one of those people that, if you started gossiping about someone, I was ready to go with you. But, it gets to be a lighter experience. We don't have to actually be that way. We don't have to be like what our mothers or our fathers or our teachers or society has taught us to be. And I feel like judgment is a huge part of that. So thank you for sharing that part. I feel like that's a great lesson for sure. So if you could, my lovely friend, where can we find you, and what are you up to at the moment?
Yes, thank you. Always appreciate the opportunity to connect with people. So Instagram is probably the place that I hang out and frequent most often. And so I'm just at Lena, Lena _Moxon, Moxon. And I'm actually about to launch a really exciting opportunity. It's a group program where over a period of 4 weeks, I'm going to be sharing 4 different full somatic activated healing practices, where you'll be guided through 60-minute sessions with me. Each week there's a different focus. I've used an oracle deck that I was really resonating with deeply. It's a Rumi, the poet, oracle deck. And so each session has been inspired by one of Rumi's poems. And, it's going to be a place and a space where women can come in, learn the foundations of what somatic practice is. So it's a beautiful combination of meditation, breathwork, mantra, and movement. and really be supported in just working with the emotional body. So the somatic activated healing is, the kind of tagline we have for it is drop the story, be with the feeling. And so these 4 different practices that I'm going to share are really going to guide you into just different aspects of your being, the mystic medicine that it is, the moves that you are guided through and taught genuinely open portals within your body and open portals around you. And there's so much potential for healing and channeling and just new ways forward in the ways that we're using our bodies as the incredible instruments that they are to support our healing and to just call in that support and guidance that, we're so worthy of receiving if only we could realize just, how easily we can activate that within ourselves. So that's happening in November. It's really exciting. It's a really gentle offering because you can jump in and do the sessions with me live every week. Starts at the end of November, but there's also the opportunity to just replay it too. So if you're new to this kind of space and it's still uncomfortable for you to show up and be seen in the actual process of it, there is the opportunity to just take the resource and do it in your own time. And so on top of that, there's a lot that I'm offering up in terms of support around like understanding the modalities and kind of very simple step-by-step guide in how to get back into your body and master the art of being in your body, which is particularly useful for anybody, but particularly women that have a tendency to overthink and have a history of burnout. And I'm really excited to be sharing that.
I feel like you just described what I needed, actually. Overthinker, burnout. Yep, hands up over here. I'll be definitely checking that out. Thank you. That sounds amazing.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I've just realized that although I got your last name right, I've been saying your first name wrong. I've been saying Lena, but it's Lena. I'm a pronunciation freak.
It can be many things. As it really, like at this point, everybody pronounces my name a little differently, and I'm just I know we're like wrapping this conversation up, but I'm at a point I'm like, what's in a name anyway? Like whatever, call me whatever you want.
There's that separation thing coming back. I feel you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and sitting with me and chatting about these sorts of things. I've learned so much from you, and I'm going to sit in my honesty right now, as there have been a few moments within this conversation where I have been like, oh my gosh, like girls being taught right now, and I've had to really nurture myself through the ego that's come up and been like, she just said you were wrong. Oh my gosh, she's just totally gone against what you said. Like the cognitive dissonance that likes to come up every now and then, right? And I'm just like, yeah, like that's the whole point. We have these conversations to learn deeper and deeper and deeper. Just Amanda Lorin, calm your shit over here. So thank you so much for those moments where I got to see myself in creating that separation. Oh, like I just feel like there's a whole conversation we could have around that now. That I was feeling into the pain body, that struggle, what I was trying, like in the past, how I said that, always trying to create something to complain about or bitch about or, get attention from. I felt that come through. And by speaking this out and speaking this honestly to you right now, I can feel a release happening. So, and a bit of terror actually. The mystery of the terror.
The mystery, but here's that part, and I circle back around as you say it, like the only response that I can have to all of that is just like me. Like, yeah, I get it. Just like me.
Yeah.
And when we begin to offer that to each other, we get more brave in being like, this is what actually really goes on within me. And when you can find people and places and spaces where we're all just like, yeah, like this is how it might not be for me. It might not be like this for me in this moment, but it has been me. And I'm open to the fact that it might be me. So it just becomes a place. This is what healing feels like, Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just have appreciated you being here, having your energy on our podcast, and really getting to get to know who Lena Moxon is. Because, we've only just connected, so I'm so grateful for Instagram and our cross-pollination bee friends that we've got that have brought us together. So thank you so much. You've been listening to an Intuitive Journey podcast with Amanda Lorin. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.